Hello and welcome to the Sister Show. My name is Gina Harris and I'm streaming in from Houston, Texas. And today I'm super excited because we're talking about playing big. And Nancy, you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Hello, everybody. I'm Nancy Castro, the Confidence Catalyst, and I am coming to you from Los Angeles. Hi.
Hey.
Um, Hi everyone, I'm Raj Anderson. I'm also known as the Savvy Strategist. I'm super excited to be here today because it's my first show as a co-presenter and I'm live streaming in from Miami. As you can tell, I'm not from Miami, I'm from the UK, but I'm from Miami tonight.
Yes. And this is the great thing about technology, right? That we can stream in from all places of on the earth, really. And so, Raj, we are Nancy and I are incredibly excited to have you on the team. You were a guest, I want to say in March or April, in one of the shows, and we just really got so into such a good conversation with you, and I'm really incredibly excited to have you on the show. And even the next few months we have lots of amazing topics to talk about. But today we're really digging deep about playing big and what that means. And I know we could go in 50 million different directions. And so I'm just going to, just share kind of on my heart what playing big means. And, I can go back to working in corporate America. And I remember it, when promotions would come up, I'm not saying I wasn't excited, but the fear wasn't as big. And this is something, when we talked about having this topic today, that's probably the strongest thing that was on my heart. It's like, in that role, and I'm not quite sure why it was a lot easier to accept and kind of just embrace. Maybe because there's no one, there's lots of people around you, whereas when I stepped off and I'm an entrepreneur now it has a different feel. Like I am connecting with myself and noticing that inner chatter and some of that, the inner dialogue of, oh, how will I be perceived? Will people think I'm arrogant? All of those sorts of, blocks that we have about what it means to actually play big. And even, with me growing Sisterhood Connections, it's like when I'm comfortable and, even as the group has grown, my comfort level stays there. But then once, I start making big plans for conferences and being, taking it global, all of a sudden that inner chatter would pop up and all of those fears would present themselves. And, so for me, seeing the difference about what playing big means as an entrepreneur versus in the corporate world. And that's an interesting dynamic. And I'm not sure, I know both of you are in that as well. Raj, you and I have a similar background coming from corporate and then starting our own business. And Nancy, you're kind of in the cusp of both right now, so I'm sure you guys have a lot to say about that.
And I think for me, building on that, it's this in itself. I came on this show back in April, and now you've given me an opportunity to play big. So it's quite a timely topic to be discussing, really. And I've been having conversations with lots of women over the last few weeks. I work with enlightened entrepreneurs, and they are talking to me about their vision and what they want to be doing next, and really stepping into that place and seeing themselves and feeling it and hearing it. And then these fears kick in, and this kind of voice kicks in of, well, maybe I won't just do it just yet. Maybe I can do it later, or maybe I should do this first. And I actually posted this week in my Facebook group around don't listen to everything that your mind says. Don't listen to everything that the brain says, because the brain is actually a jerk. Now, laughing aside from that, the mind's designed really to keep us in our comfort zone. So it was for me, that was a pivotal point when I was thinking about my next steps and my journey in the US as an entrepreneur. And some of those niggling little voices and things that come into my mind about, well, what if you make a fool of yourself? What if you come on a sister's show, for example, and you freeze or you don't know what to say? And I had to really think about, is that an actual thing that's going to happen? Is that an actual threat? Or is this something that's going on in my mind, or a story that I've created? And I know Nancy and I talked about that earlier in the week as well, that when you're actually having that breakthrough or you're going into playing big, it actually doesn't just impact your mind, it impacts your body. You can feel it and hear it and see it in so many different ways.
Yes, and you know what, going off of that, crazy enough, this week I just posted on it, because it was so impactful for me when I've done the entrepreneur thing, I went from corporate and then into kind of starting my own business, but this, this other thing that's coming up, that big breakthrough, like it affected me even physically, like because the body just knows like that the fears are like so deep and the doubts just completely surface. And, I've just been so lucky enough to already kind of understand and kind of expect them to come, but you don't realize how much they impact you, like not just on a mental level, but like seriously, your body is also like trying it, like a protective thing, like, wait, don't go there, like we don't know what's gonna happen. And that's when you really need to get with your mind and really push yourself to say, you know what, how bad do I want it? And what is my why? Like, why am I doing this? And I think that kind of hits that big breakthrough, and it pushes you to go beyond that, even if you're mentally drained or spiritually drained or physically, it affects you. So I totally understand it, because I, just going through that this week alone has affected every area, and, it makes you want to quit. It makes you want to step back and say, do I really need to do this? Like, why can't I just do the 9 to 5? Like, isn't it okay? Like, I'll be happy, I'll be fine. But your soul wants more, and it knows that it's ready for more. So I truly agree with you on that. What do you think, Jena?
Well, honestly, as you both are kind of sharing, what kept popping up to me was also surrounding yourself with like-minded people, because I know, and I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but sometimes I feel like I get so excited, but yet when I share sometimes, I do have that inner chatter and worry about people thinking, oh my gosh, do they think I'm bragging or whatever? But all of those sorts of things are really things that we need to address to move forward, to get us to the other side. And everyone's heard me say it many, many times. It's like, feel the fear and do it anyway. So, I think back even through, my history, and it didn't matter a promotion or, starting Sisterhood Connections or doing even the sister show. It's always different layers that kind of come out, and even different, how you feel, even being nervous or whatever. And, also playing big actually is really subjective, isn't it? Because playing big has a different meaning to many different people. What do you think about that, Raj?
Whilst you've been talking, I've actually been thinking about, I'm reading a book at the moment by Tara Moa, and it's called Playing Big, and it's talking about what we've just been discussing here. That kind of a couple of things that occur. You have an inner critic voice inside your mind around talking you through, trying to keep you safe, keep you in that comfort zone. But what was really enlightening for me whilst reading this book is that some of the fears that arise particularly for women in playing big, and she actually talks about some of the systems that we've been in. So, for example, the educational school system, and when we're studying, and almost we're taught that we can't step out until something is perfect. Till something is till we've done all the research. We've collected the data, we've done the research, we've polished it and perfected it. And I know for myself, when I go into procrastination and fear kicks in, I go into attempting to be a perfectionist. And what she's saying really resonates with me, because it's almost as though, well, you can't really do this until you are perfect in every sense. And then that becomes a story. It becomes an excuse, and it becomes something that holds us back. And I know I've done it many, many times. And I know when I'm doing it, I've done it recently, even in the last few weeks, it's kind of something more important that I need to do, you know, or I'll come back to this because this isn't polished or glitzy, or, you know, it's not packaged in the way it should be, of having all of my together, then, you know, what's going to happen? You know, all those pressures of being a role model as a woman as well. And I think some of the things that we might be taught in the educational system, some of the things that we're taught, you know, when I know you've been in corporate America, I was in a corporate role in the UK, and it's, you know, you are completing these reports and you are packaging things up in a certain way, and you almost forget being able to be creative and innovative and believing that you've got everything that you need inside you. You know, you don't need to be so polished and perfect in your approach. So sometimes you just need to take that leap and step off. What do you think, Nancy?
You know, you guys, you both mentioned something that I think, and I, you know, as you guys were talking, I was like, you know, when I've gotten into that position, perfect example with just writing the book, I would play it small so that the other women wouldn't ever think like, oh, she's bragging, and it was really tough because even in my culture, like my culture is, it affected my relationship when I would try to play big with a significant other, where it was like, no, like there was like these chains holding you back. Like your role as a woman is you get married, you have kids, and you stay home. And for my culture, me stepping out of the norm and embracing the fact that I was different and that I wanted more, it was hard. It was so hard because you have no one as an example, and you have to lead the pack. And it's just like, you know, there was nights where it was like you drop to your knees crying on the ground because you have no one else there to be there with you. There's no one there to tell you, yes, you're going to do this. And at the end of, oh my God, I get a little emotional about it, but it's, you know, it's one of those things that it's like when you believe in something so strong and that you know it's meant for you and that you know it's meant for something bigger, you will do what it takes and you won't allow yourself to fall. Do you fall? Yes, absolutely. But you find a way to get up and keep going. Even if it's a baby step, you take that little baby step. And yes, everything that you mentioned, Raj, you know, where you were talking about, you know, you start procrastinating like, oh, I'm supposed to work on this, but I've gone through it. I just this week alone, like just, okay, no, I need to work on that first and I need to finish that first. But at the same time, it's, at the end of the day, that's why I'm like, it's your why. Like, why are you doing this? And at the end, and you start forgetting about the external stuff as far as what is that woman going to think? What about that group? What about these people? Like, you start kind of taking things back in here. And you were right. Everything that you want to do is already inside. And but we're not programmed that way. We're always wanting to get validation from somebody else to kind of believe in us when we already have it on the inside.
Well, I honestly, I'm connecting with what both of you guys are saying, because I'm going to back up, because Raj, you had mentioned something about going into perfectionist mode, and, you know, for me it's about nitpicking, and I'm just sharing with you, I've found that I do that myself, but not as much anymore. But my clients that I'm helping, and just recently I've been helping people with websites and watching them critique it, and to the tiniest details about even the font color, and some of these things, when really it's not really about that font color. It really is about that fear. Well, if I'm done with my website, or if I'm done with my project, that means the next step is actually putting it out there and getting it out there. So there are, my clients know this. I'm not going to call any of them out, although when they watch this, they're going to know, that they are one of them. But what, it's really, I just put it right back out on them, and I say, and get clear with yourself, because these are small things. Really peel that layer away and get truthful with yourself. What is really going on? Because many times that perfectionism and all of that stuff and procrastination, it is that layer of a protective mechanism that is over us, so that we don't have to get ourselves out there. And I'm just going to share really quick, because I was thinking about the couple of opportunities that I've had, like for the magazine, and I actually got an opportunity to host a radio show, and I made a good decision not to do that at that particular time. I was just, had a lot of things going on. But what I will admit, and Nancy actually knows this, I could not answer, I could not reply, and I couldn't figure out what is wrong with me. And really, it was that layer of protection, like, oh my gosh, if I have to answer and give an answer, and even if I say yes, like to the magazines, I said yes, but it was like, now I really have to put my money, put my money where my mouth is, so, and do it and move forward. So anyways, that's what pops up with that. And Nancy, about your culture thing, oh my gosh, that hits home, because just so many clients that I work with, they share that, the roles of what they're supposed to do and how that would be viewed. And so if anyone today is listening, I just want to really reach out to you and tell you to really stay focused on what it is that you want in your life, because when we go out and we're living for everyone else, especially trying to fit in that box, because everyone, our culture, whatever it may be. But if it's really what you want, that's when people start getting the depression and getting the anger and getting the resentment and not understanding where it comes from. So,
and I think building on talking about this being a protection mechanism, I mean, for me, in the line of what I do and savvy strategies, by nature with my personality, I do like to take a step back, and I talk about this often. I know we talk about Jena, we're taking a 360-degree view of what's going on, and thinking about, is this fear that's kicked in around playing big, in your mind, is it an actual threat, or is it a perceived threat? Because often we're in fear and panic. We get scared and stuck by things that aren't even going to happen. And I know I've looked back when I've actually stepped out. Some of the biggest changes and challenges for me in playing big was actually leaving the UK, walking away from a 10-year career with a team, in leadership, a large team, a senior level role, where I was embedded and I was a part of a structure and I was part of a system, and then walking away from that and actually losing my identity because I didn't fit anywhere anymore, and I was in a place of feeling quite alone and isolated. I knew I had a vision to be an entrepreneur, a CEO of my business, all these great ideas, but then that kind of not having a tribe or not having other women to lift me higher was kind of when these thoughts, I'm sitting there and I'm creating my vision and I'm packaging things up and, looking at my strategies of what to do next, and then these thoughts appear in your mind, they appear at that point. And often we're telling ourselves a story about something, and we're getting into fear, and we're actually feeling the emotions. We're hearing what's going to happen. We can see what's going to happen. It hasn't happened, and it's probably never going to happen. So it's thinking about, is this really an actual or threat? Is this with some of my clients that are creative and they're visual and they write stories, they will create these stories to keep them stuck about what could actually go wrong. And I always say to them, when you think about the worst case scenario, so what's the worst thing that could actually happen? I want you to see it as it is, not worse than it is, and then you can see it better than it is.
I like that. I definitely like that. And you're right. I think when you have other people, like-minded women, I just feel like it's such a powerful thing. With men, I mean, I have been exposed to like the business partner as a man, and they have it's like this immediate thing for them where they're like, let's just do it, but as a woman, I feel like our mind has like 10 different things, and you're right, of like what could go wrong and these perceived stories. But at the same time, when it's something that has been embedded in you, like it's literally like paradigms that it's been for generations after generations, that what are you doing? Like all this stress that starts coming, like I want, for all our viewers, is like for people to understand, once that breakthrough happens, it doesn't mean it ends there. You kind of go along, and then you reach another level of, oh gosh, okay, now I got comfortable in this zone, we got to change it up again. And it's like it's this progressive thing in life that is going to continuously happening. And there's that saying, like, if you're not growing, you're dying. But it's like I want people to understand that if you get through that first time, you're going to be able to get through the rest, because you already kind of know how to reprogram your mind, like, okay, it's coming up again. That fear is coming. I'm procrastinating. How am I going to choose to do this? Just like you, Raj, you know what? I'm going to step back. I'm going to go for a walk, and I'm just going to let all this stuff go. Visually, let it go. Visually feel. Visually, like, see it. What could go right instead of what could go wrong. And feel that emotion. Like, if this does go the way that I plan it, how is it going to look? How am I going to feel? Like, all these things that it's like you switch it up a little bit, and it gets you past that next little hump. But is it going to stop there? No. It's going to continue, because the business or whatever you're doing, personally or business, you're going to continuously keep growing. So it's going to continue happening. But now you have the tools of how to kind of control that. So I definitely agree with you.
Yeah, and Nancy, what you were talking about, what kept popping up to me was really about this staircase. And so many times, you guys know this about me, sometimes I can overwhelm people because I have that, big vision, and I have to remind myself to pull myself back and really, just like you were saying, Nancy, go one step at a time, because you can get really overwhelmed. And I think for me, even seeing other people, that's what gets them stuck is, even talking about the website, they'll think about all of the things that require to get there instead of, just I'll have to pull them back and say, okay, let's just rein back. Also, Nancy, I was thinking of the book. That's a really good example. It's like, okay, well, what about when the book is done and how it's all going to be marketed, all of these other things, or how, the cover, and thinking about the tiny details. And that's, for me about, when people really start getting stuck in the mud. And that's when, and if that happens, that's something that I have to, because it happens to me, I'll remind myself, okay, take a breath, like you said, Nancy, take a breath, put that down, what's important now. And sometimes it's even just focusing on the smallest of detail of what you can do today. And sometimes even, because as we're talking about playing big, people that may be watching that are like, yeah, that would be great to play big, but how do you do that? And I'm thinking, sometimes if you have a list of, your dreams or goals, if you're a huge, like me, a vision manifester, and I have a manifesting board, and, on my phone's like all reminders of, helping me stay in alignment. But really looking at that, your your to-do list or your vision, and pulling back if it starts feeling overwhelming. Because I'll admit, sometimes I look at it and it's like it almost feels like I can't breathe, and then it's like, okay, that's when I know I need to just close it off. I'm probably going through some growth or whatever it may be, but then I just focus on, okay, what can I do today? And even if that means something simple, to keep my energy and my focus very right in front, kind of like Martin Luther King said, look at the step, not the staircase. I'm not quite sure how the whole quote goes, but really it is about pulling in and staying very front and center, very present with what's going on, instead of kind of looking at the big picture. Because just because you're getting up on stage, you may be getting all these opportunities that are coming forward, and people get stuck, like they freeze. They're like, oh, so they kind of like rather not do that, or putting themselves out there and everything not being perfect and being ridiculed and all that stuff, and so they just don't do it. So if you find yourself getting that inner chatter, for me it really is about learning those things, those tools to help let go of that stuff and pull your energy back in. What do you think about that, Raj?
I agree, and I think it's this is unique at every step of our journey, really. And I think Nancy said that before. This isn't something that goes away. It's something that occurs regularly when you are moving towards change or looking at doing something different. And playing big is unique to us at each stage. So what it might mean for me, it doesn't mean for you, or it might not mean for Nancy or some of the people that are listening on this today. It's every breakthrough that we have in our vision that is unique for the extraordinary life that we want to create. Kind of, we encounter these different thoughts, or these fears occur. And I think keeping it simple is absolutely key here, in terms of, and I think it's rich, complexity is your enemy, because when you complicate things or they become too complex, you go into overwhelm. You go into overwhelm and you panic and you get stuck. So it's remembering, yes, you may have created a vision board. You may be in the process of creating that. You may be a highly visual person and you can see it. As you work through to that, as you're looking at each step that you're taking, the best thing is to really root yourself, chunk it down. Because, and I know, Jena, we've talked about this, and I talk about this with my clients as well. This isn't a fast track kind of Weight Watchers diet method. This is about sustainability. This is your life. This is a lifestyle that you're creating. So you want to really set those foundations in, and you really want to start to connect with yourself better and have minutes. And you really need to understand, and I know Nancy said it a couple of times, your why. Your why is so important. I think it's really, really important, because you have to have a driver. And I talked about a couple of weeks back, when you drop to your knees in fear or panic, or you just can't go on because life is throwing you curveball after curveball, and you think, why is this happening to me? And you're down there on your knees at that point. How do you rise from that? You rise when you have a compelling vision. When your why is so strong, when that pull is really strong, and you actually feel it here. And whatever your motivators are, it could be your family, it could be a loved one, it could be your children, it could be your passion and belief. And I know for Jena, you're passionate about helping other women's lives. And when you think about that and how that resonates with you, and how you will do whatever it takes for somebody else to help them, you have to remember that you have to also put your own oxygen mask on. You can't serve from an empty vessel. So sometimes it's easier that we will go above and beyond to do something for somebody else. And at that point, we don't feel fear. And if we needed to step in, somebody called you, somebody called me, Nancy, a friend, a loved one, I need you, all your fear would go, because you'd do whatever it takes at that point. It's really learning to realize and connect and engage with yourself, that you will also do it for you. that's how strong that pull and that why needs to be.
Woo, woman, that was intense. Very, very intense. But you know what? When you can like totally feel that, like your words, and it's just like, yes, that is so true. And I'm sure many, many women that are watching, or anyone that's watching, can totally relate to that. Like, I'm relating to it in so many different areas. It's not just in career, it's personally, it's you know, it's relationship wise, it's in career, it's like everything all together. This isn't just playing big, you know, like you said, in that sense of the career. It's really genuinely playing big, is stepping into the things that you want in your life, no matter what it is, whether that means, you know, you want to have a family, whether you know, you want to make that next move at work, or whether you want to get married and move out of the country. You know, there's so many different things that playing big is not necessarily just, you know, in the career move, but I feel like it encompasses everything. And a big thing with that is also having that confidence within yourself that you can and you will do it. Like, that's a promise that you make to yourself every morning, you know, when you get up and you get to look at yourself in the mirror. And it's like being able to have that promise with yourself, like, I will give the best of me today and every day, but just focusing in on that one day, like today, I'm going to give it my best. And being able to go into the next day and say, I'm going to give it my best. But it's because you made that promise to yourself that you would. Because I think everything else, like, you know, we're so good, like you said, at making, you know, promises to other friends. Like, I promise I won't let you down. And then we won't. But when it comes to that promise with ourselves, we can tend to procrastinate, or we have other things that come up as a priority, and we'll break that promise in no time. But we really haven't, you know, it's just one of those things that you just kind of think about, like, that is true. I make promises to other people, and I make sure I follow through. But when it comes to me, I kind of, like, I make excuses sometimes where I'm like, you know, I'll worry about that later. Oh, I got to go do this real quick. So you're right. Like, a lot of the times is holding your own self accountable for when you are on your knees on the floor and that fear has overtaken you, and you're just kind of like, how am I going to get out of this? Even though you know your why, it's just having that inner confidence saying, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this no matter what. I don't know how. You don't need to know how. Just know that you can do it, and I think it'll help you just kind of get off of that, at least get one knee off the floor.
Yes, and you know, talking about that, it really was striking up some stuff even for me, and admitting, and you know, Raj, you hit it. It is easier for me. I'm going to admit that right now. It is easier for me to build other people. I'm not saying I won't step forward and do it, but I have to really push myself and be very mindful every step of the way, because you know, if someone does reach out to me, I'll put their needs before mine, and that was that. And I'm going to say that as past tense, because I feel like I've really moved past that. But I will admit that has definitely been a paradigm that I have, you know, been in, is really putting people's needs. And I think even as close as last year, I found that I was building everyone else. And I'm going to admit also that I think there's a level of comfort knowing, at least for me, because I can only speak for me, but there's a level of comfort with bringing a pack of women with you. And someone, you know, said to me, and I think this was beautiful, Raj, you know, she reminded me that I have to remember my own value, because I am representing other women as well, and if they're looking to me and I am devaluing myself in any way, shape, or form, what is that saying to them? And that was, that even still, that resonates in my mind, because it's so huge. Because, you know, yes, what message are we sending even to our children or the people that we're around? Because you're right, Nancy, as we were going through this show, I was thinking, oh my gosh, this isn't just about, you know, your job or whatever. It's really playing big in every area of your life. And so, you know, but that's always going to stick with me, Raj, what you gave me there that day.
And I think that's really important, because we all have to remember our value. We have to remember the value that we bring. And it's easy to, when we get into those grips of fear, to not remember what that value is. And what we have to remember as well is we step into these places and we're stepping into these roles and we are moving into playing big. As you said, people are watching us. Little ones are watching us. Other women are watching us. Young girls are watching us. So we have to hold ourselves accountable, because we are role models out there. And this is, when I'm in the grips of this is a pep talk that I'll give myself, that, you know, if I'm to be a leader out there in my field, if I'm talking about savvy strategies, if I'm talking about setting intention and operating with emotional intelligence, then I have to talk the talk and I have to walk the walk. And I have to look at my reasons for putting myself in this position. What is my story? What is the message that I want to give? So I have to let go of that self-limiting story that's holding me back, divorce that story and create a new one. And often when I'm talking to people and they're creating vision boards, I ask them to actually create their why statement. You know, create your why and create your why statement with real passion. Because I know for me that, and this is my personality, and for different people it works in different ways. You know, you may want to talk to yourself in a gentle way. You may want to be journaling. Sometimes an audio to yourself works. I know I give myself a pep talk, like a gladiator pep talk, because that's what gets me going, you know, kind of eye of the tiger, that sort of thing. But for me, when I think about my why and being a role model, I think about my own story. And I know I shared a little bit on the last show, my upbringing and my culture and having held my voice back for a long time and kind of living in the shadows. And I led a double life for 12 years. When I think about that, and to me, my why is, I didn't come this far to only come this far. So my question to me, and my question to anyone who is listening tonight, I want you to really think about, when you're journaling tonight or you're looking deeper within yourself, I want you to ask yourself, is the fear of not doing this worse than doing this? Because for me, when I'm in that grips, I tell myself the fear of actually not meeting my dreams, the fear of not achieving that vision, that would be way worse than me getting very cozy and comfy in my PJs, working from home behind my laptop every day. What are you thinking, Nancy?
You know what? It's so funny, as you were talking. Not too long ago, I was in my room, and you said right now, like, the eye of the tiger, and I'm like imagining like you playing like that song from like the movie, like just playing it to get you going. Interestingly enough, and I pulled up the lyrics right now as you were, but there's a very powerful quote, and like a verse of the song. It's called Conqueror. And I was sitting in my room one of the days, and all this mind chatter was going on, like, who do you think you are? Like, you can't do that. You don't even have this. You don't have, like, everything just came at me all at once. And it just felt like everything landed on my shoulders and my head. And then all of a sudden, as I was getting ready, the music starts, and it's this song. And the first lyrics, like, I started crying because it was like, oh my God, and I just have to read them to you guys really quick. But it says, life is like a merry-go-round. You're up and then down, going in circles, trying to get where you are. Everybody's been cutting you out, but where are they now? Sitting in the same old place, just faces in the crowd. We all make mistakes. You might fall on your face, but you gotta get up. And it just like, it really resonated with me because it was like, yeah, it's true. All the people around maybe that sometimes were like, oh, you know, that little book you're writing, or oh, what is that little thing? And it was just like, because I valued it so much, but it would kind of hurt a little bit, like when it was like, and then I would kind of go along with it, like, well, so it doesn't hurt so much. Like, you're right, you know what? It was a little book. Don't even worry about it. You're right. But it wasn't until I really stepped into it and my mind went into, you're playing big. You have no other choice. You're playing big. And now it's so different because when somebody does come to me and say, oh, you know, your little book or that little thing you're doing with that nonprofit, it was like, no, it's not a little book. We're creating a program, and this is a global movement. Do you see my confidence with it? Like, I'm standing behind it 100%. Like, there's no way you're stopping me. But right before, if I bring it up that way, where it's like, yeah, you know, you're right. It's a little, no, it's not little. I'm sorry, it is not little. It is global impact. It's changing lives. No, it's not little. And it's like when you can actually step into that, it is the most liberating feeling in the world. And I just want to say it feels so good. It feels so good.
And I guess, Nancy, that isn't that why you're the confidence catalyst?
Of course.
You know, I was thinking it really is a gift to yourself when you do kind of own it. And I kind of, you know, it struck a nerve with me too, because I think when you and I first started talking about, you know, doing this show, you know, there have been people that perceive it as, oh, just, you know, they're just playing, you know, doing a little video, but I don't see that as being this. And when we talk about manifesting and stepping forward into our dreams, like if Oprah's watching, you know, we're calling Oprah, we're calling, Sandra Krakowski, who are the ones, Tony Robbins too, right?
Absolutely, absolutely, Tony. Hi, Clara.
Hi, Tony. But, you know, manifesting in our life, we really have to, we can't, just like you said, Raj, you know, walk the walk and talk the talk. You can't really expect to get there if you don't really have that vision for yourself. And as you were saying that, Nancy, it's like, yes, you really have to own it and feel it, because it is about the feeling. You know, there's a book, it's called, oh gosh, It's All About the Feeling, I believe is what the title is. I will, for the people that are watching this replay, I'll put the link below to this book, just to make sure that that's the right one, title of the book. But it's really good. It talks specifically about this, how we bring into our life. It is about the feeling and that vibrational resonance and kind of what you're bringing in. So if you're coming through that space of fear, you're never, I mean, let's just be real, you're never going to get there to your biggest dreams, whatever it may be. So, you know, I don't know if you have any input on that, Raj.
I think as well, we have to be mindful when we are in that place. Obviously, in our mind, we already talked about actual threat and perceived threat. And then we have to be mindful that we don't take on other people's fears, their projection of what's going on with them, or whether they're not ready. They might not be in the same space that we're in. They might not be ready. And often when these fears are projected, because they're somewhere in our own subconscious, we selectively only hear that one thing. We actually hear it as it being smaller than it is, because that's what we're trying to attach ourselves to. So we have to be kind of mindful that we don't take on other people's fears, that, you know, we actually are being careful and considered in the way we see and perceive things. And this is why it's so important. We've already talked about taking a step back, breathing, applying mindfulness strategies in terms of journaling and going for a walk. And I think you learn to manage some of these things better when you become better in touch with yourself, don't you? You know, when you actually are heightening your own self-awareness. And, you know, information is power. So I talk about being well-informed, asking questions of yourself. You have to be really curious with everything that's going on and especially with yourself. You know, you have to be asking these questions around what's causing this, what could really be going on, what could I do differently, and at the end of the day, what's the worst that could happen? And I talk about there's no failure, there's only feedback. So even if something didn't go as planned, there's always a lesson in there for you anyway to do something differently next time.
You know, it's funny that you say that, Raj, because I think it was like a couple weeks ago, there was a little snippet, and I think I posted on the Sisterhood Connections Facebook page, where it talks about, Oprah's talking about it, where she's saying, like, there is no failure. It's just a little poke on the back kind of thing. Hey, you're supposed to go that way. Like, it's a learning lesson. It's growth for you because it's guiding you. You can use that fear to guide you into the right direction. And, you know, you said it perfectly, where it's like sometimes it's not our own fear. It is somebody else's. And I can totally feel that because there's been times where I had to tell my mom, you know what, Mom, I'm planning on doing this and this and this. And I, like, overwhelm her with, like, my vision. And she's like, you know, maybe you should just, like, why don't you just find a little job, and, like, that way you don't stress about this and you don't stress it. It's just too much, and maybe you need, you know, like, all these things start coming. And then I start picking it up. And it just kind of, like, messes me up a little. It doesn't, like, I don't focus anymore. I'm kind of, like, worried about her and then me, and then I'm like, what if I share this with somebody else and they think the same thing? Like, am I really crazy? You know, there's all these things that start happening when you're right. Like, you end up taking on their fear. And I know it's protection. I know it comes from a good place. But at the same time, you always have to remember, whose journey is it? It's my journey. I get to decide all this. And it's embracing every step. You're right. Not everybody's in the same step. I'm never going to compare myself to Jena or to you because we all have different experiences. We all have our own journeys. We all have big visions, but we embrace every step. We embrace even when it's a down day. We embrace when it's an up day. We embrace when it's a neutral day. Like, it's just allowing, giving yourself that flexibility and allowing yourself to just be. Just be. It's okay if you're frustrated one day and you're crying, and the next you're so excited because you got over that. It's just one of those things that it's so many little things of, like, embracing everything all the way around for it to be growth instead of just a failure or fear or anything else like that.
Well, that is all really good stuff, Nancy. And, you know, as we kind of go moving toward kind of recapping, I really want to leave everyone that's watching now and people that are watching the replay, you know, kind of what it is. If they are on the other side and saying, oh my gosh, you know, I really want to play big, I would, you know, just, I'm going to add my 2 cents and we can all kind of go around and kind of give our perception. And some of the takeaway that I'm getting from today is really about empowering yourself to dream big, and it doesn't necessarily mean even in your, you know, career like you were saying, Nancy, but just keep going for that biggest dream and knowing that it's all possible, not having to know the details how you're going to get from point A to point B. But for me, it's really important to surround yourself with like-minded people so they're not kind of, you know, squashing a bug in front of you and, like, putting your dreams down. You know, and it's okay that, you know, sometimes our closest to friends can be that way. It's not that you're not still going to be friends with them, but sometimes in a period of growth, you're going to know, you know, who's healthiest for you to be around. I guess that's what I'm saying. And, you know, I will add that I feel that in Sisterhood Connections, that's really, we have created that culture, that safe place to really help lift women when they feel like they've fallen down. And it isn't failure, just, I mean, I'm going to reiterate that too, you know, it's not failure, but yet still having that, you know, your tribe of women or people around you that motivate and inspire you to be your best you. I think that that's really, really important, and probably, you know, really about allowing yourself to have that inner chatter, because I honestly don't think that anyone can just shut it off, but recognizing it, making a friend with your ego, with your inner chatter, with, you know, all of those limiting beliefs. But, you know, I think Raj and I, we've joked around, you and me, Nancy, too, about, you know, going and telling your ego to go play in the road, you know, all of those fears, kind of telling it to go away. So that's kind of my 2 cents to leave the audience. Raj, what do you have your recap?
Yes, and of course, naturally, I would love to share some savvy strategies. So what I'd like to leave everyone with, I've got 5 simple savvy strategies here that I just want to leave the listeners with today. So talked about this. I think number 1 is really important to connect and create awareness. Really identify, you know, ask questions about what is this? What is it that I'm feeling? What is it that I'm hearing? What does it look like? You know, where is it coming from? Because you're exposing it then. You know, you're really exposing and identifying what that is. So number 1, create awareness, identify. Number 2, and this can be difficult sometimes if you are feeling really overwhelmed or really challenged. It can be difficult to do this one, but where possible, step out and aim to dissociate with that emotion, with the fear. Stepping out, and you're almost doing a, what we would call in NLP terms, second positioning. You're looking at it from a different perspective. You're almost talking back to yourself, you know, so look and resonate with your inner mentor. Speak back to yourself and really disassociate from whether it's a perceived or real threat. Number 3, what you want to look at doing is actually changing that story. So whatever story it is that you're telling yourself that is stopping you or holding you back or is internalized or may have come from childhood or something somebody told you that you weren't good enough, you really want to change the story. You want to divorce yourself from that story, and you want to write a new story. And the way you write a new story is possibly by journaling, and journaling's a great way of doing it. So you put yourself in a position, and this is number 4, you set the intention, and you start to talk as though you already are in that story. I am an amazing woman. I am earning this much. I am an incredible CEO and leader in my business. I am changing people's lives every day. And that then leads into creating that compelling vision, that real compelling vision of I am stepping into that story and really taking hold of your why. So those are some savvy strategies for you to be working on and really trying to get to grips and disassociating from that fear.
Honey, do you have that in spreadsheet form?
I can put it in spreadsheet form.
Okay, Nancy, do you have anything you want to wrap up with?
Yes, for me, it's definitely going to be, you know, and Raj, you said it, and it's your 5th step, so it's so funny. For me, it's no matter where you are in your journey, embrace every step. Embrace every step, because it's always a learning opportunity. It's an opportunity. Everything, a challenge, anything that happens wherever you're going, wherever your vision is, I feel like it's an opportunity. And remembering your why is, for me, one of the biggest keys, because remembering that brings in that feeling again of that satisfaction that you're going to get, that vision that you see, you know, the lives that you're changing, you know, whether that's your own personal life or everybody else's. But I definitely feel that the why is a big, big part of when you're falling. That's going to be the driving force to get you right back up and to have you keep going. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay, so Nancy, rumor has it that you have something really exciting coming up. Can you share with us?
Yes, of course, I would love to. So for anybody who's watching that's near the Salt Lake City area, July 16th, we're having our first Salt Lake City trip. We're doing a half-day retreat for all the women, and it's going to be from 9 a.m. to noon. And it is located the Church and State Event Center, which is the address. We'll probably add all this information, but I just want to go over it. 370 South 300 East, Salt Lake City, Utah. So we'll have that. It's going to be an amazing retreat for any women, who want to come and join us and come out with this reigniting feeling of their confidence back and the things you can do with confidence, people. I'm just going to say, I'm going to leave it at that.
It sounds exciting, Nancy.
I know it is. It's going to, and I'm just excited for anybody who wants to go. It's going to be so awesome.
So how can they message you? How can they find more information out? We can put a link below the video.
Yeah, let's put the link below the video, and then you can reach out to me, or you can private message me on Facebook, Nancy Castro. Just find me, and we'll get you all set up.
Awesome. And Raj, I know you have a special announcement too.
Yes, really excited. I don't think this could have been any more timely, really. So on the 18th of July, Jena and I are actually launching the Empowered Leaders VIP Roundtable. So this is 7-figure savvy strategies for turning passion to profit. And it's actually leadership level coaching for those savvy women who are looking for a tribe and they're ready to be empowered to really play big with their dreams and consciously prosper from their vision. So, I want you ladies to look out for a special invite in your inbox, because it's going to be a select membership group. It's a select community and tribe. And it's really looking at this whole concept that we've been talking about around playing big and taking yourself to the next level, and those tools and tips and strategies that are going to enable you to unlock those things and unlock your potential. And Jena and I will be sending out more information around that, but I'm very excited. I'm really excited to be working with some savvy, empowered leaders.
Me too, and it is so timing, just like you said, about playing big. And Raj, I'm incredibly excited for July 18th. It's the day after my birthday, and it's such a great time to celebrate this and bring in women. And really, Raj and I have been working so hard to really take part of my brain, take part of her brain, some of the things that we've learned along the way in the corporate world, and also starting our own business in our own communities, and really teaching women and helping them move past their blocks, take them to the other level, and really all the strategies and, from step A to step B, and being supported. And it will be an elite group. You have to be ready to want to go to that next level. So I'm super excited that we get to kind of sneak it in here and announce it before it's launched on the 18th. And I'm also really excited about Sisterhood Connections. Our website will be launched, our new website will be launched in August. And we have 7 new writers for Sisterhood Connections, and so soon we'll be able to share all of that. But if you want to check us out, you can find us at sisterhoodconnections.org, and again, that's our old website, but you can still kind of hook up with us there and find the links even to our Facebook group on Facebook under Sisterhood Connections, and also our page there that will have all of the information. And we're going to be sharing these articles. These women are writing from their heart, and they're so inspiring. Like, as I'm reading them, I'm just super excited to share it with everyone. And also, I wanted to announce, I announced today on Facebook, I actually drizzled a little bit of it last month, but I am a columnist for E-Magazine, and I'm so incredibly grateful, blessed, excited. I really am going to be using this platform to share the amazing movements and work that women, females, are doing in our world every single day that get unnoticed, unrecognized, and helping them even to expand their vision. So I'm super excited about that, and more details to come on that. You can also visit my website at blissfullyempowered.com. And so, you know, if you don't want to miss these shows each month, we're going to be bringing on some really exciting guests. Today is special because of the 4th of July. We decided collectively to move this show to today since, you know, in representation or in honor of the 4th of July. But going forward, we will go back to Saturdays, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time on the Google+. And we have a lot coming in the future for some really fun and entertaining guest speakers. And next month, we're going to really dive deep. We're taking this playing big and kind of digging into that entrepreneur side and sharing lots of perspectives. And we're going to be having a special guest joining us next month. And so you definitely don't want to miss it. So we're wrapping it up on, you know, to the end. Raj, do you have any final statement before we say goodbye?
I think it's just, you know, don't stop believing in yourself, and don't look at how far you've got to go. Look at how far you've come and celebrate.
That's awesome. How about you, Nan?
Love, 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 love. Speaking of celebrating, woman, you are just amazing. It just kind of follows right through. I was about to say, please don't forget to celebrate every step, every accomplishment, even if it's small, that you reached out to somebody that you would have never reached out to. Celebrate it, because I feel like the universe just knows. If you celebrate the small stuff, it'll throw you the bigger stuff. So I want to end with that.
Okay, awesome. Well, I am sending love, as always, from my heart to every single one of you guys who are watching now and even in the future. And until next month, you guys, be blissful.
Bye.